good and bad. I've been consolidating a lot of my taping. So I'm doing a marathon taping day. I've been basically taping, Joe, since, well, the setup started at 9 a.m. today, and now we are going on. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. We'll be done in about an hour. So it's really been my whole day sitting here in the grown-up kitchen doing our show and then being on other people's shows the whole day. So we'll see how this
I
show
like
goes.
that. I like that.
I like it too, but when you're in the home stretch, you're a little bit tired. So that's my way of saying, Joe, lead the way.
Mine is, as you know, this particular week I'm fighting battles on a lot of fronts, which normally I have a few fronts, but this week is a lot of fronts, but they're all, as you know, tying knots and stuff we can't talk about.
Exactly.
And it's pretty
Good stuff,
exciting.
though.
Oh, no, it is. It's very good stuff. But holy cow, I can't wait to get it done. Speaking of get it done, hey everybody, welcome to a recording of Stacking Benjamins. What am I
No.
talking about? See, of Money with Friends. This is Bobby. I always forget I got to point the opposite way. This is Bobby. I'm Joe, and we are going to be recording 2 episodes. So hang with us through the first one, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll record the second one. So the first one, we're going to talk about Charlie Munger, who, if you don't know who he is, it's hey Michelle. It is he's Warren Buffett's. He and Warren Buffett are partners. You often hear about Buffett. You don't hear about Munger that much. But Munger is much more analytical, where Warren is more kind of usually, don't you think, Bobby, the front man, just kind of
Yeah, Warren's usually in the spotlight.
yeah,
I would say that.
he's the chatter.
But Munger is certainly there and making his presence known, and certainly in this piece.
Yeah. And so we'll do that. And then our second piece, we're going to talk about some insider stuff that kind of makes me angry. So
this was stuff I have to tell you that even though I'm a CFP and I've been a journalist for a bazillion years, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. You chose this article, the second one we're going to talk about, and I'm really glad that you did.
it's just dirty. There's some
Yeah.
dirty stuff going on.
I didn't know this could happen. There's a teaser. Ooh.
It is just ugly. All right, but let's talk about Munger. So Michelle and anybody else hanging out here with us live?
Kevin says, yo.
Kevin's here too. How about that? Well, that's right. If Michelle's here, then Kevin's probably here. Not that you guys are together all the time. However, all right, we ready to do this?
Yes, we are.
All right, hold on. This is going to be for Saturday. This is Saturday the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And we are recording.
A top investor is raising some serious red flags about the investment outlook. We'll tell you who and why they are so worried, plus the results of our latest Money Friends poll, and so much more on this edition of Money with Friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner Bobby Rebell, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from Detroit, Michigan, where we make the Stacking Benjamin show in my mom's half-finished basement, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
This is the Money News Show that includes commentary on recent headlines and stories with thought leaders from across the financial landscape. We break those stories down into what matters to you, our friends, and we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
Big thanks to Ubiquity Retirement and Savings for supporting Money with Friends. Think providing retirement benefits in your business is expensive? Think again. Ubiquity offers simple, online, affordable small business retirement solutions starting at $75 a month. Get ahead of the future with help from Ubiquity's team of experts. Go to MyUbiquity to learn more, or tell your boss to visit. That's myubiquity.com to learn more. And big thanks to MyUbiquity. And I think that's right, Bobby, that a lot of people think if you're a small business person watching this, or you work in a small business and your boss tells you, hey, I can't afford to do that benefit. It's surprising. Chad Parks, who's on our show also this time around, he'll be coming up in a couple of weeks, and his company Ubiquity doing some great work for making small businesses competitive when it comes to these retirement benefits.
And I think that's important because so many Americans work in small businesses that there's no reason they shouldn't have access to the same benefits that big company employees have as well.
Yeah, agreed. Well, speaking of, okay, my recorder just had it. This is the second time my recorder's had a problem today.
Oh, no.
I think I may need to start using my Zoom instead. which sucks because I like this recorder so much better, but they don't make it anymore.
Mm.
But I touched it and it stopped.
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We're going to do that
Sorry.
again. That was our practice. Speaking of that, though, before we do that, I got two things that I have to do very quickly.
This is true behind the scenes. All the messiness that is behind the scenes at Money with Friends on this Thursday afternoon.
I just realized the thing that I thought that I had cut and pasted from Ubiquity did not come through. Sorry, guys. And then the other thing is, how far down do you want to read?
Let's see. Maybe up to you started in the US alone.
Okay, let me find that. I've got 15 things open.
So, for those of you watching, Joe is much better at working everything on one computer. I actually have to have you see me looking to the side. That's because I have an iPad because I can't handle all those different windows. It's just overload for me. So, I just put the outline for the show on a separate screen. So,
Okay, there it is. Okay, now I've got it. And now, where do you want me to start?
in the US alone.
Yeah, I've got you. Okay, good. All right, we're gonna do that again.
From the top.
Isn't that true, Michelle? If it weren't my favorite, it would never die. You're exactly right.
Of course. Of course.
The fact that I absolutely love it and they don't make this recorder anymore. It's just a little tiny.
Don't they make an updated version?
It is done. They got out of the market. So it is
Oh,
tiny. You know how big the Zoom is that you've got, Bobby.
it's
You
not
know,
that big.
no, but it's way bigger than this.
Okay.
It's just a little
Sorry.
tiny thing. But anyway, so all right, let's do this again. Take two. This is going to be for Saturday, the February 15th. And we are recording.
A top investor is raising some serious red flags about the investment outlook. We'll tell you who and what they are so worried about, plus the results of our latest Money Friends poll, and so much more on this edition of Money with Friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner Bobby Rebel, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from my mom's half finished basement just outside of Detroit, Michigan, where we make the Stacky Benjamin show. I'm Joe Saul Sehi.
This is the Money News Show that includes commentary on recent headlines and stories. With thought leaders from across the financial landscape, we break those stories down into what matters to you, our friends, and we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
Big thanks to Ubiquity Retirement and Savings for supporting Money with Friends. Think providing retirement benefits to your employees is expensive? Well, think again. Ubiquity offers simple, online, affordable small business retirement solutions starting at just $75 a month. Get ahead of the future with help from Ubiquity's team of experts. Visit myubiquity.com to learn more or tell your boss to visit. That's myubiquity.com to learn more. Big thanks to them. Of course, not only do we have Ubiquity with us for that first time, we also have Chad Parks who's going to be on the show, and not just because they're sponsoring the show. He's one of the foremost experts on the three-legged retirement stool, making sure that people know what they need to know for retirement.
Yeah, and he has a great documentary called Broken Eggs. I think that's the title, right?
Yes, yeah,
That
yeah.
I really enjoyed, and I had him on Financial Grown Up to talk about it.
Yeah, he's slightly entertaining. Slightly.
He's very entertaining. It's going to be awesome.
Speaking of a guy who's entertaining, normally that's Warren Buffett, but his partner, Charlie Munger's in the news. He's got some feelings about this stock market. So let's see which one of our friends is going to help us kick off today's show.
Okay, the headline comes to us from CNBC, and it is written by Fred Imbert. Charlie Munger warns there are, quote, lots of troubles coming because of, quote, too much wretched excess. How's that for a quote, Joe?
Wow.
That's
Ouch.
some headline.
Ouch.
All right. The key points of the article are Munger highlighted how much risk investors are taking when investing, particularly in China. He says in China, they love to gamble in stocks. That is really stupid. Not mincing words, Joe. Um, he also highlights the proliferation of EBITDA as a profit metric as another sign of the wretched excess, calling it, quote, ridiculous. Again, really, beating around the bush here. Quote, I don't like when investment bankers talk about EBITDA, which I call bull, you know what, earnings.
Wow.
Yeah. And by the way, it says that he's, for people that don't know, Charlie Munger is vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, and he's also Warren Buffett's longtime business partner. So this is basically a big warning that he put out there this week. He told us to the Los Angeles based Daily Journal annual shareholder meeting. He chairs the publisher, and he was really talking about the risk that investors are taking on when investing, particularly in China. So here's the main part of the article. In the US alone, investors face risks ranging from the coronavirus's impact on the economy to political uncertainty from the upcoming presidential election. Also, the Treasury announced that the US budget deficit increased by 25% in the first 4 months of the fiscal 2020 period to 1.06 trillion. Trillion with a
Jeez.
T, Joe. However, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 both hit record highs. To make this point about his excess, Munger cited the proliferation of EBITDA as a fake profit metric. Um, he calls it ridiculous. He says EBITDA, which by the way is short for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So he says EBITDA does not accurately reflect how much money a company makes, unlike traditional earnings. Think of the basic intellectual dishonesty that comes when you start talking about adjusted EBITDA. You're almost announcing you're a flake. All right. The 96-year-old, by the way, he's 96 years old. Munger goes on to say, quote, I do think that my generation, he's 96, had the best of all this technological change, noting medicine has improved dramatically during his lifetime, while inventions such as air conditioning have increased the standard of living. Quote, I don't think we're going to get as much improvement in the future because we've gotten so much already. So anyway,
Investors of all stripes look forward to Munger's annual address since because of the wisdom he shares. Munger is also considered to be one of the best investors and business thinkers ever. Before joining Buffett at Berkshire, Munger ran an investment partnership that returned an average of 20% per year from 1962 to 1975. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 averaged an annual return of just 5% in that time. When Charlie Munger speaks, people listen. I think there's a bunch of stuff to go over here, Bobby, but the first one, you know, Munger says there's problems with stocks. Does that mean that we do anything different with our portfolio?
it's a tough call because, as you said, he's very well respected and he is someone that has been very successful in investing. So he's certainly worth paying attention to. That said, people have lost a lot of money pulling it to the sidelines when trying to time the market based on what smart people say. So I guess it depends on your goals and your timeline, but we should listen and consider it. He's a smart guy. What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a great time to kind of go halfway, which is check your investment advisors. The best ones have something called investment policy statement, which means that it's how you're going to manage your money in good times and bad. So you're not reacting to news like this. So when Charlie Munger comes out and says, hey, things are looking bad, you don't all of a sudden go, hey, financial planner guy or woman, how do I react to this? You don't react. You have a plan and you stick to your plan, but your plan includes what's going to happen when things go bad. So if your plan doesn't already have what you're going to do when things go bad in writing, I think it's time to do that.
I think that's a really good point. And it's also important to listen to the specifics of what he's saying and think about the metrics that you use to evaluate stocks. We get used to the financial press uses EBITDA quite a bit. And so that's for some people become sort of a default metric, something that they look at to compare different investment opportunities to each other, maybe if you think he's right, you start thinking it you start paying more attention to other metrics when making investment decisions.
I think this is a huge shot across the bow. To your point, I think you're right on that. There's a huge shot across the bow to individual investors. If you're investing in individual stocks and you're watching this and you don't realize that chief financial officers are playing games with the numbers, what did my mom say? I got a bridge to sell you or swampland or something. You're getting fooled. Munger is calling out these people that make the numbers say whatever they want by creating some of these metrics. And there's other metrics, by the way, that investment people have pointed out for long periods of time. When governments give you government statistics are often a way for the government to make sure that they keep the ball rolling. So I always take, it's funny, we look at periods, some of these long periods of time since 2000, where apparently there was no inflation, yet the cost of my movie tickets kept going up. The cost of bread kept going up. But according to the government, there was no inflation. It didn't happen, except to my wallet. So, and by the way, and that's not just a US thing. That is government after government, no matter where you're at. You need to look behind the statistics instead of just accepting them. And frankly, if I'm an individual investor and I don't realize I'm being fooled, did you ever see, Bobby, the movie Rounders with Matt Damon?
I did not.
There was this thing. So he's a poker player and he says this line near the start of the movie that if you don't know who the sucker is at the table, it's you. And while I don't think you're a sucker if you're investing in individual stocks, if you're investing in individual stocks using these numbers and you don't realize that there's a lot of manipulation going on, you're trying to look behind them like Munger is, then I think you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's important. So much information is out there with public companies by law, but so few people read behind the headlines when it comes to earnings reports. It's always interesting when I was at Reuters, you would see the print reporters who were the ones that really did the tough reporting on this stuff and would often give us the data. You get these initial snaps that would come through. Those are the big headlines that come through at first, and you would get a stock reaction. And then as people started going through, and the Reuters reporters are excellent at this, and looking at what Munger's talking about, the real numbers beyond the headline that they will push at the top. And very often you'll see an hour later, when you look at the aftermarket trading of these companies that report earnings, things change
Yeah.
because people have read. And what's interesting, especially I was just the TV girl. So you'd say, okay, well, the headline that I'm reporting that the company put out is the company did really well. We had our best of some made up number ever, especially with the social media companies, but yet the stock is moving down and you don't know why. And so then you or somebody else at the organization, a print reporter, gets on the earnings call and some analyst is asking them hard questions about some number buried in the report. And you find out what people are really worried about. And you go back on TV or to whatever news outlet you're going to an hour or two later, and the story will be completely different. It'll be like this stock went on fears about this number, the number that was buried deep in the earnings report that is showing a problem up ahead that the company didn't promote at the top, shockingly, at the top of their press release.
Yeah, these companies have communication departments even that release bad news on a Friday afternoon. So hopefully that reporters won't won't see them. I mean, the way that companies try to make sure that the stock price stays up is incredible. We do this live, by the way, on YouTube today. And if you want to join us, head to our YouTube channel, go to youtube.com and then put in Money with Friends and you'll see our artwork and click subscribe and you'll get a notice. But our friend Kevin's here. Kevin asked if we've ever watched the live stream of Berkshire's annual meeting. I've always watched snippets. I've never been there, but I don't stay around for the whole thing, but I definitely, Kevin, tune in as much as I can every year because that is gold. I mean, everything from comedy gold to investing gold to, I love the the Q&A that goes on forever. It's fantastic. Have you tuned in, Bobby?
I have watched parts of it. I've never sat through the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth watching and you learn a lot. And the truth is also, if you do own individual stocks, you can sometimes go to those things and learn a lot. And it's an interesting experience to be at a shareholders meeting. Especially when sometimes there's these wild people that come that own one share of stock and like to kind of raise a ruckus. So there's a lot of personalities at
I
those kinds of
know.
things.
It always amazes me when the whole building gets held up by the person with one share.
Yep.
But that's
But they're
good.
allowed to do that.
Part of the process.
That's our system. Yep, absolutely. We did put this question out to, we did put a question out to our Instagram audience. Joe, we asked them, we said, Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's business partner, is concerned that investors are taking too much risk. Do you agree? And the choices of the answers were too much risk or no worries. What do you think our money friend said?
I think I think people listen to this show and hang out with us on Instagram are long-term investors. So I think it's going to skew more toward no worries. So I'm going to say 65% no worries.
That is so close, Joe. Oh my gosh. I'm going to say you nailed it because that's close enough. It was 61%.
That's funny.
I think that's a
What
win.
do you think though? I mean, just completely this is not like what I'm doing with my money. I think like our friends do. I'm not making big moves, but just like
No,
emotionally, what do you think? Do you think there's problems?
I think I don't know, and therefore I'm not gonna make moves, but I have a percentage in cash right now that I am happy with, knowing that a recession, I believe, is going to come in the next few years.
Yeah.
Not a huge percentage, but I do have some money that is not fully invested
I,
already, already, not reacting to this,
I like
just because
my
that's my comfort level.
Yeah. I like my investment policy statement and I'm sticking with it. I mean, I have a machine about the way that I manage my money and I'm not going to violate that. But emotionally, I think forget everybody else. Munger starts talking about it being bad. And I think it could be pretty bad. The
Yeah,
problem here, though, too, Bobby, is when, right? It isn't about
right.
is it going to get bad? Because the answer is yes, it will at some point. The question is when. And the guy that said it's going to get bad in 2015 is still right if it gets bad at whatever point.
Right.
So
And in the meantime, people that have a significant amount of cash on the sidelines are missing out. So the question is, how much are you putting on the sidelines as your cushion that you will either, number one, you'll feel secure that that money is not losing value. And number two, maybe that's money that you would at least reinvest if the market were to take a significant plunge, if you felt that you could live with not having that much cash on the sidelines. It's a balance.
yeah,
It's a buying opportunity, but there's a reason you have a little bit in cash.
yeah.
So it's tricky. We also got some write-in responses as to why people
Oh yeah,
answered the
yeah,
way that they did.
yes. I am the real spoon says depends on the individual and goal. Easier to stomach risk in an up market, and if the goal is 20 years out, which is very true. And if you're in stocks, I'd say to I am the real spoon. Great name. I'd say if
I
you're in
think that's
stocks,
Sarah, by the way. I think her name is Sarah.
you probably should have a 10-year plus time frame if you're in stocks, and you shouldn't then have to worry about it. Vincent also says, I need this risk in order to hit my retirement goal. If I was Warren Buffett's biz partner, I'd hate risk too. That's that's so good. But it's funny because Vincent puts it right on, which is there's different types of risk. What Vincent is saying is that I need stock market risk because I have to beat inflation with this money over long periods of time. That's what I need to do. So I have to take this risk. The risk that happens when you go to cash is that your cash doesn't keep up with real inflation and then your purchasing power goes down. So you're safely losing money
Mhm.
taking no risk, which
Well,
is an
what we call cash is not always literally cash. It can be in
sure.
CDs, it can be in, money market accounts. It doesn't have to literally be earning 0.
But maybe you're swimming with the current then, right? But you're
Right,
not
exactly.
beating inflation. Yeah.
No, you're not. And you have to, this goes to what your risk tolerance is. And everybody has a different level of risk tolerance. And, for some people, a certain percentage in cash is okay. You have to be careful. Some of those robo advisors will automatically put a higher percentage in cash than you may realize, and that might be right for you. So it's important to know if you do those robo advisors, what exactly their formula is. That's been a red flag for some people lately.
In just a moment, Bobby and I are going to have our big takeaway from today's piece. And while I give Bobby to think about the way that she's going to very eloquently answer that call, got to say a big thanks to Ubiquity Retirement and Savings for supporting Money with Friends. Let's talk retirement planning for a moment. We've been talking about the fuel that gets you there, Bobby. But if we talk about the actual planning, if you're a small business owner, you work in a small business, you want to maximize your tax benefits and have employees or be an employee who's confident in your financial future. By choosing the right retirement plan, if you shopped, it might seem to be complicated. Ubiquity, though, makes it easy to save for the future while gaining tax advantages along the way. In just a few clicks, you'll see 401k plans designed by experts online, or you can talk strategy with them and tailor a plan that meets your specific needs and the needs of your employees. Ubiquity's affordable flat fee plans start at just $75 a month. So if your boss tells you it's too expensive, I think you need to send them to this link. Whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team of 100 employees, everybody gets the same exceptional service at Ubiquity. Kickstart your future at myubiquity.com. That's myubiquity.com to learn more. And it's when I was a financial planner, I heard that all the time. My boss says we can't have a retirement plan because it's too expensive, which, by the way, historically was very true. But if you head to Chad's organization, myubiquity.com, you'll see that that was the past.
Yes. Now we have resources and options, which is great.
Good stuff. All right, Bobby, what's our big takeaway from this piece?
One of the great things about the more senior members of our society is that not only do they have the wisdom that comes with age and experience, they often cut out the filters. They have nothing to lose and they say what they mean. So we should listen to this advice with that in mind. He doesn't really have a big agenda at probably at 96. My sense is he's probably not out there shorting the market like crazy. We don't know for a fact, but probably this is pretty sincere. I
Yeah.
mean, he's cutting through the BS in his mind. This is what he really thinks. He's got no filter there. And we should make our own decisions, of course, but definitely worth paying attention, worth discussing and considering what this man says.
Yeah, if there's anybody to believe, I think it's Charlie Munger. Very, very believable. And the problem is that it's not about whether he's believable then at this point. There's the next thing. Is he right? And that's where my takeaway is, which is whether he's right or whether he's wrong, we never want to act on anything. We want to read these pieces and we want to follow what smart people think. We also want to follow why they think it so we know why the dominoes are moving the way that they move. But we do that so that we can control our emotions, because studies show it's not the plan that gets in the way. It's a lack of a plan and just following our emotional selves when somebody that we respect, like Charlie Munger, says the sky is falling. Instead, use this knowledge so that you know when the market starts moving that it's time for your machine to spring into action, which, by the way, assumes that you have a machine, which is your investment policy statement. If you learn anything from this piece, again, I would start working on what's my investment policy when the market goes up, the market goes sideways, the market goes down. What do I do? How do I manage my money? And put that in writing so you're not working emotionally. You still have the emotions, Bobby, but you're not reacting to them.
Well said.
Well, thank you. What likewise, where can people find us? Instagram. Let's talk about that.
At Money Friends Pod, then you can be part of our polls, surveys, and quizzes and questions.
It's so fun. And if you want the links to these pieces and also to find out more about not just Chad's company, My Ubiquity, but Joust and the other companies that support Money with Friends, head to our show notes page, which is at moneywithfriendspodcast.com. That's going to do it, I think, Bobby. Did we do it?
Yep. We did it.
We did it. Bobby and I are back on Monday. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, everyone. On behalf of Bobby, I'm Joe. See you next time back here at Money with Friends. 20.
That's good.
That is good.
Yeah. I wish we could have gotten through a couple more of the answers. The other one, we don't have a lot of answers. We've got very little responses, unfortunately. I don't know. Sometimes you phrase these guys and we get a ton of responses, which we did for that one. And then sometimes it's quiet.
Well, I think the reason we did have more answers for the second one is most people don't even know the issue.
Yeah, I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
So maybe we won't even share. I think the answers we got aren't really, yeah. We'll see. We got a lot of people, though, that did vote in the voting for the question. We asked people, should advisors be able to go to arbitration and ask to expunge their broker check record for a price? We did get a significant number of answers for that.
Oh, good. Okay.
And a very clear answer.
Yes. Good.
So we can at least do the poll.
All right. Kevin, thank you. That's awesome. I've been waiting for Kevin's coffee. I have been waiting. I can't wait to try it.
Thank you, Kevin.
I am just finishing up another bag of coffee too that our mutual friend Jen Hemphill gave me from her last trip to Colombia.
Oops. Sorry about that.
But that was awesome that went off after we got done.
Right.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Go into airplane mode, which I obviously forgot to do. Okay. Sometimes I'm on my phone Wi-Fi because that is apparently the best Wi-Fi in my house, sadly. So I'm not always in airplane mode. I just kind of take a chance.
Ready to do story number 2?
Let's do it.
Let me move this over. Let me move. Gotcha. Oh, that's fine. Although I'm starving for coffee now, I'm just telling you, go ahead and wait, but whatever.
Oh, hold on. I actually need to hold on while we're live on YouTube. I need to answer a text.
All right. So, a few things. I will be live tonight on the Wealth Hound Facebook page. If you just go to the Facebook page and put in Wealth Hound, by the way, this is if you're watching this either while we're making or same day on the 13th. So February 13th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on the Wealth Hound talking about, do you need a financial advisor, with our friend Jason. So that'll be fun. What else is happening, Bobby? Tomorrow we're not recording.
No, tomorrow I just found out the washer repairmen are coming.
Well, that's good.
For the washer dryer.
There it is.
That'll be really exciting.
Yes.
So, yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and how far do we want to go on this one? So
by the way, I blew through where you were supposed to pick up last time. I don't know if you realized that. I ignored it and just realized, oh my goodness, I read too much and just stopped.
I just ran with the punch. So this piece is only 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So you read first this time.
I'll do the first 4 and you do the second 4. How about that?
Okay. So I'm starting after the proposal says?
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. FINRA's proposing is what your first words.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We are recording. This is for Monday, the 17th of February.
Big controversy on deck for today's show on a very important issue we all need to pay more attention to. Should it be more expensive for brokers to try to get their broker check records tied to customer disputes expunged? Plus, the results of our latest Money Friends poll and so much more on this episode of Money with Friends. Welcome to the Money with Friends podcast. I am certified financial planner Bobby Rebell, host of the Financial Grown Up podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And coming to you from my mom's half-finished basement outside of Detroit, Michigan, where we make the Stacky Benjamin show. I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
This is the Money News Show that includes commentary on recent headlines and stories with thought leaders from across the financial landscape. We break them down into what matters to you, our friends, and we leave you with a takeaway to make it your own.
Big thanks to Joust for supporting Money with Friends. Joust is the nation's only all-inclusive banking platform for the self-employed. PayArmor, their awesome, I added to this, Bobby, invoice payment guarantee product supports the 71% of the gig economy workforce that sometimes doesn't get paid. You can sign up for Joust for free at try.joust.com/MWF and enter promo code Money with Friends, and you'll get $100 in credits. That's try.joust.com/MWF. If you have a side business or you have a big business, we were talking about this with George from Joust the other day about all of us on the call. Everybody on the call had gone through non-payment before, where some companies goes, yeah, we're not paying you.
Yeah.
And what do you do if you rely on that income?
I have never had somebody say that they won't pay me, but they say it's coming, but there's always a lot of red tape and
Yeah.
and it's never really the person that you're dealing with, they're always sort of on your side fighting for you, but meanwhile, it's some bad guys that they're pointing to, this department or that department, and there's all kinds of red tape, and you have to get into this system and use this code, and you need to this code for the job you did, and they don't make it easy.
Yeah, their pay armor system is so cool. It's a great product. We'll talk about that more
Yes.
today. What we're going to talk about, though,
Progress, Joe.
yeah, today what we're going to talk about is something that, as a former industry insider, I sent this to Bobby because, man, does it make me angry. This whole thing makes me angry. And the bad news is most of us don't know anything about how this stuff works. We're going to go behind the curtain today a little bit about some of the stuff happening in broker and financial advisor world. But first, let's see which one of our friends is going to help us kick off today's show. All right, I'm ready. I am a little hot about this. This comes to us from Investment News, industry rag for brokers, financial planners, financial advisors, and it's written by Mark Schaff Jr. The piece reads, FINRA seeks minimum expungement fees of several $1,000s. FINRA, which is, by the way, they are they're kind of like the sheriff when it comes to financial advisors, brokers. They police financial advisors to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So they have a thing called Broker Check, and Broker Check is a place where you can go to find out if your broker has had complaints against them. As an example, so just before we get into the piece, so that you understand what the deal is here, when I was a financial planner, which was for 16 years, I had one complaint on Broker Check. I haven't searched it recently to see if it's still there. I'm not sure how long it lasts, but the when a complaint goes on Broker Check, anybody can see that there's been a complaint against that person. So that's
Doesn't mean that it was valid.
doesn't mean it was valid. And I could talk all day about mine, but it was really cool when once a client came to me and said, "Hey, we checked your Broker Check record and you had this complaint against you. Tell me about that." And it was a really nice opportunity for us to talk back and forth about how I work. And it was really cool that they did do their due diligence. And by the way, those people ended up hiring me, which was cool. But we're not talking about people with one problem with their Broker Check record here, Bobby. I'm telling you, because you and I, or me and one of our thought leaders about 6 months ago did a story about this. The people that are trying to have their record expunged right now are people with 20 and 30 problems on their record, and they have this history of complaints. So anyway, let's get into the piece. That's what this piece is all about. FINRA is proposing to assess minimum fees of several $1,000s on brokers and firms involved in arbitration to clear brokers' records of customer disputes, a step that an investor advocate says doesn't go far enough to stop expungement abuses. In a rule proposal filed last Friday with the Securities and Exchange Commission, that, by the way, is 9 days ago, not just a few days ago, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, Inc., said is trying to eliminate a procedural maneuver that allows brokers to request minimal damages, usually $1, when making an expungement request. By using the so-called $1 trick, a broker can reduce the arbitration fees assessed to the broker and the member firm linked to the request from $9,475 to $300, according to the proposal. The $1 damages request also ensures that only one arbitrator, rather than the usual panel of three, will preside over the expungement proceedings. Having three arbiters available to ask questions and request evidence would help ensure that a complete factual record is developed to support the arbitrator's decision at such expungement hearings, the proposal says.
FINRA is proposing to apply a minimum filing fee for expungement requests, whether they are made during a customer dispute arbitration or come as an expungement only request from a broker. Under the proposal, a minimum process fee and member surcharge, as well as a minimum hearing session fee, would apply to expungement only requests. Altogether, the fees could add up to $8,350 or more. The higher fees would also ensure that expungement requests would be heard by three arbitrators. The FINRA proposal doesn't go nearly far enough to satisfy Lisa Braganca, a Chicago securities attorney. She is the co-author of, quote, of the book Public Investors Arbitration Bar Association Foundation Study. I'm sorry, not a book. It's clearly a study. The Public Investors Arbitration Bar Association Foundation study last year that asserted that FINRA arbitrators grant so many expungements, allowing brokers to remove customer disputes from their broker check records, that the public database should be shut down. Wow. Among the report's recommendations is that expungement decisions be handled by regulators rather than arbitrators. Rather than attacking the problem head on, FINRA is nipping and tucking, she said. Quote, instead of eliminating expungement through dispute resolution, they have chosen to eliminate expungement for $1, she said. We're so grateful that FINRA has responded to our report by choosing to maximize its own income rather than solving the problem. In other words, all they did is charge more. They're not changing anything material, is what she's saying. Michelle Ong, a FINRA spokesperson, said more expungement reform is on its way. In other words, we're not done yet. Don't worry. This proposal is just one of several initiatives that FINRA's board has approved for filing with the SEC, Ms. Ong said. Other initiatives include a codification of expanded expungement guidance for arbitrators and another that would create a special roster of expungement arbitrators with enhanced training and experience. Rick Ryder, president of the Securities Arbitration Commentator, said doing away with the $1 damage request is just the first step in FINRA's overhaul of the expungement process.
The number of expungement requests has skyrocketed in the last few years. Listen to how many of these bad actors are onto this. From 1,400 in 2016 to 1,936 in 2018 and 688 during the first half of 2019. The total number of FINRA arbitration cases each year is about 3,500. Expungements granted far too often, investor advocates say. So here's what's happening. People get a bunch of bad stuff on their FINRA broker check report. They play this game so that they don't have to pay a lot of money and they get their record wiped out. And that's the way it works right now. So for the past several years, we've been telling people to go to broker check, and many of the bad actors are just wiping the slate clean and continually doing it again.
Well, how does it exactly work? Because I didn't know. I mean, what's the point? If you can just get it expunged, what's the point? I didn't even forget about the dollar amount. What does it show then? I don't really understand. How is it that is the expungement after an appeal where they plead their case and say the client was wrong? The complaint was not valid. So they do have to have it. They have to make their case and win, in other words. It's sort of an appeals process, which everyone is entitled to an appeal. I think that I don't agree. I don't disagree with, right? Maybe sometimes they're right.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't know.
I mean, at first blush, I thought, why doesn't this work like Yelp? Because on Yelp, if a restaurant gets a bad review, the owner can go on and put something underneath that about the bad review, right? Yeah. But you could also make the case that these are not just one little restaurant that's being bothered. Don't get me wrong, it's somebody's paycheck either way and somebody's livelihood, their business. But I could totally see these financial firms just putting bad stuff on their competitors' sites all day long. Like they would totally do that. That's what they do for fun. So I think you can't do that. So there has to be a process. But you look at the number of people where that process isn't working, where so many people are getting it erased. Like, I love the fact that these people can appeal, but we've got this many people that are getting their records erased. You go, I think the process isn't working the way that it should.
Yeah, I think so. I think something needs to be fixed. And the truth is they're acknowledging it. They're making it a higher bar. So if it does cost more, I think that they will only, I would hope it's an incentive to only appeal, or a motivation to only appeal if you really think you were in the wrong, that you were wronged by your client. That if you're maybe know that you kind of did wrong, you may not appeal and you may just live with it. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, this is not my world, really. I don't know. It's tricky. This is tricky.
My friend, and I think this gentleman too, Nick Clements, who created, he and Brian Karmazad created Magnify Money, which is a sponsor on our Stacking Benjamins podcast. What I always liked when I talked to Nick, Nick would always talk about how when he was working for these credit card companies, they actually had a line in their budget, Bobby, which I don't remember the euphemism he used, but it was basically fees and fines they were going to pay because they knowingly were breaking the rules. It was part of the game.
That's
So,
so
so
bad.
it's
Oh my
horrible.
god, that's terrible.
And so you think about the fact everybody knows credit cards are not your best friend, right? But if you've got these bad actor quote advisors, the worst of the worst go, yeah, I just pay X amount of money and I get it expunged and I just keep going. I just keep, yeah, not, this is not great news. And it undermines, if broker check doesn't work, it makes it so that we don't have any recourse as investors, um, beyond complaining to the company. I mean, don't get me wrong, you might sign some arbitration clauses with the company, but I would love to know ahead of time what I might be getting into, and it also keeps brokers in check from doing this in the first place.
Mhm.
But if I can have it
Knowing, yeah.
expunged, yeah, not good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to just be thought of, as you said, basically as a cost of doing business.
Right.
We did put this out to our Instagram friends. Our handle for everyone is @moneyfriendspod. So we'd love for you guys to participate. We asked them, should advisors be able to go to arbitration and ask to expunge their broker check record for a price?
I would bet our audience says no.
What percentage? How strongly did our audience feel about this? I will
It,
tell you that is correct.
I think it's at least 90.
Oh, you're good. You are so good, Joe. 94%.
Bam.
I was surprised it wasn't 100%, to be honest with you.
I agree with them.
Yeah.
Just the fact that
I
this
there's
can
some people that
happen.
said no, but, whatever. Yes.
And to your
Yeah.
point, Bobby, you're the one that brought it up, and I totally agree. It has to happen. They have to have some recourse because they have to be able to make their case somehow. Either they have to have a Yelp style thing where they can put a line item about their side of the story, or they have to be able to have an arbitration to maybe get it expunged. Something's got to happen. But the fact that it's tied to money now, oh boy.
Yeah, because also if someone is wrongly accused, sometimes a client may not understand something. They may not understand why um, an advisor told you something, and it could be perfectly good advice. And there could be there are complaints that aren't valid, or it just we're human. It happens sometimes, and so you should, if you're a financial advisor, have recourse. An appeals process, but maybe it's that you pay for it only if you lose. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Clearly, they're struggling with it as well.
I'll tell you about my broker check complaint. I had a client that was being taken advantage of on annuities by another advisor with the same company that I was with. And when the client's stuff went from, I became their advisor after the other advisor retired, and I saw that this client had been ripped off. I started I recommended, and I actually started a complaint process with the company saying, I want my client to get this stuff back. My client went to an attorney, and the attorney told them to file a broker check complaint against the old advisor and against me. And I'm the one that pointed it out. I'm the one
Right.
that started the process. But you know what? What was sad though, Bobby? So few people at that time knew what broker check was. I just didn't work. I mean, I was angry. I was frustrated. My client called me later on and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you about some strategy." I'm like, "I can't talk to you about a strategy. You just filed a complaint against me on broker check." And
Right.
they go, well, we were told to do that, but we still need you as our financial planner. No,
Mhm.
no, you
No.
can't complain about me on broker check and me be your right hand man. It can't happen. So, yeah,
Did you ever even try was expungement even an option at the time? Was that
I,
something that was available?
it's funny. I just thought it was the lay of the land. I didn't
Yeah.
even go to an attorney. I didn't do anything. I said, well, this sucks. This absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
And it did suck. But you
Yeah.
know what? If I thought that this will be my only one, and it ended up being my only one. So live and learn. Anyway, let's do our big takeaway from today's piece. And before we do that, just got to say a little bit about Joust because, Bobby and I both a little speaking about
Mhm.
stuff we get emotional about. We get emotional about making sure as business people we get paid on time. And sometimes you don't get paid on time. And if there's a way to integrate our business banking with something that helps us ensure that if we're not being paid on time, that we can still make sure that payroll for the people that rely on us for money, those people get paid and our suppliers get paid. Well, we like that. And that's why we like Joust. Joust uh, is a company that helps people, whether they've just started their own business or they're somebody that's been in business for a long time, whether it's a side passion project and you weren't sure where to begin, or you're somebody that's been rolling for a while and you just get frustrated from time to time because people are slow to pay. Ensuring a steady income will always be one of the first things you think of and could be the reason why you don't eventually take the leap toward entrepreneurship for some of you. But Joust is the nation's only all-inclusive banking platform for the self-employed. Business banking can feel complicated, but Joust makes it easy. PayArmor, Joust invoice payment guarantee product, supports the 71% of us in the gig economy workforce that experience non-payment. You can sign up for Joust for free at try.joust.com/MWF and enter promo code Money with Friends. You'll get $100 off in credits. That's try.joust.com/MWF for Money with Friends. Big thanks to them. All right, Bobby, what's our takeaway here?
My takeaway, first of all, thank you for bringing this story, Joe. I think it's an important story that we all learn more about how this all works. Anything that keeps brokers doing the right thing or incentivized to do the right thing is a good thing. So, whether it's making it hurt a little bit more in the wallet or some other hurdle to make it harder to erase bad stuff, it is a move in the right direction. More important, educating people to check on those who call themselves financial advisors and who say that they are acting in our best interest, but maybe not. This is a good thing for people to know about before handing over their money.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. My takeaway is this: Jack Welch, the gentleman who ran General Electric into the 80s and 90s into the early 2000s, had a quote which was, accept reality the way it is, not the way you hope it were or wish it was. Reality here is that we might not be able to rely on broker check. And when I think about that, I think, you know what, when you're hiring a financial advisor, it still comes back to your ability to interview people to help you. So you need to visit as many sites as you can that ask great questions of advisors. And it's not just how are you paid, which is what I see a lot of the popular press focuses on. I think that's easy.
Mhm.
I think the harder thing is, what are you going to do for me? And then how are you paid? And how do you show me as much of the process as possible? The more you dig in, the harder it's going to be for somebody to do the wrong thing while they're in your corner. Um, I think this, Bobby, just comes back to buyer beware at this point.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
that's very well said. True with so many things, but especially with this. This is something we tend to just want to trust people. I just read a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Talking to Strangers, and I thought it would be advice about how to talk to strangers, but it's not. It's about the fact that we often have a trust bias, that we often
Yeah.
assume people are telling us the truth, and people are very good at being untruthful. And we think we can detect it. We think we have sort of a BS meter, but most of us don't.
And we're
Spies
afraid
get
to
away
ask.
with it. I mean,
Yeah.
look at Bernie Madoff, they get away with it because 'cause they're just good at lying. More people are good at lying than you realize.
We're afraid to ask the questions that are in the back of our head. We think they're going to upset the apple cart, or maybe it's a stupid question. Man, in this case, especially, ask all those questions. So important. Bobby, where can people help us make the show on Instagram?
At Money Friends Pod is our handle, actually on both Instagram and on Twitter. So please join us in both places.
This week, you'll find both Bobby and I with some of our thought leaders recording on the Stacking Benjamins Facebook channel. Join us there at facebook.com/iStackBenjamins, or join us back here on YouTube. We're reliably here on Thursday, by the way, at this point. So join us over here. Go to Money with Friends, go to youtube.com, then go to Money with Friends. Just type that in. You'll find our artwork, click on us, and then you'll get a notification when we go live, which is usually late morning. We're not doing it late morning today on Thursday, but most of the time it's late morning on Thursday. All right. That's going to
Yes.
do it for today. On behalf of Bobby, I'm Joe. Bobby will see you again tomorrow. Who's with you tomorrow, Bobby?
Who is with me tomorrow? Oh, it's Dr. Brad Klontz.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How could you
As a
forget?
financial psychologist.
We're about to
Yes.
talk behavior. Yes.
Yes.
Good time
Yes. And
tomorrow.
we're going to be talking about debt and marriage and whether people put off marriage to till they get their debt under control.
Oh, sounds
Surprising findings. Lots of data about this that
sounds like a light topic.
I didn't expect to see. Yeah. No, I mean it's light I don't know. It's a good topic.
I think it's
Dr.
a
Brad had a lot of stuff to say about the psychology of this. Oh yeah.
great topic. We'll dig in on that one tomorrow. We'll see everybody tomorrow back here at Money with Friends. 22.
Okay.
All right,
All
guys.
right. Bye.
See you later.